Hello, welcome to Traffic Time with Jaime. My name is Jaime. Today we have a special guest. I have my lovely wife. She is mic'd up. You won't be able to see her on the video, but she'll be chiming in. She's actually going to be the one to ask the questions, cover the topics. Usually makes for better conversation. We have somebody communicating live, opposed to feedback on comments or a live stream. This way I don't have to be looking down at the phone or we're not reading text or visual aids. So what do you want to talk about today? All right. First topic of the day, or of the right, I should say. She suggested discussing getting your kids trained for driving. So if you're not in this generation or have kids that are about to drive, the good thing is that applies to a lot of ages. So you could be in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You can have kids in any age group that you're teaching. It doesn't have to be your kids. It's somebody you take care of, you foster, your nephew, your niece, cousin. There's somebody that is learning to drive. And if you're the one prepping for them, how does that look for you? For us specifically, we have a 14-year-old. I mentioned this before. He's about to be 15 this year. And even though he doesn't really show an interest in driving, we want to push for it primarily for emergency situations that might come up where he needs to step in and jump in. He should know there's people that have a license but don't really drive. More and more now, people are doing Uber, Lyft, rideshare, whatever you want to call it. They're not the ones driving. There's somebody that drives out of the group, or they're paying for somebody to drive them. Now, growing up in an era where we couldn't get away, or we couldn't wait to get away, and we wanted to go places, especially if you live somewhere where it wasn't so close that you could just walk or take a bike over, driving was the best option. And I started learning to drive at, I think, 15 or 16, the basic driving, the van out of the driveway, moving it to wash it, do oil changes.
Yeah.
And until I was like 16, 17 is when I really started practicing, because I knew I wanted to do driver's ed so I could get driver's license earlier than later. Similar to my wife, and she'll kind of share her backstory on when she started driving, how that looked like for her.
Well, I'll never forget. I never thought about like how crazy that was. I started asking my dad. Well, I just ask a lot of questions anyway about everything. It's just a natural curiosity, but at whatever point, I do remember that I was only 12, but like a 12 in 7th grade, like a young 12. I just know I was 12.
Mature 12.
A mature 12. But I mean, 12 nonetheless. And when I asked him if I could move a car, because I started taking on the whole car washing stuff, and it wasn't a whole thing yet, but that's just like kind of the beginnings of it. And then eventually, way later, even up until when you and I first met, like, even though I already was older,
years.
like my sister was already old enough to start like doing some of that, but she never did. I still always did the cars. So like, I think it had something to do with that, just the fact that I was around the vehicles. And then I liked help. I mean, me and my sister both liked helping my dad, like handing him tools and stuff like that. But I just remember asking to be able to move the car. And I can't remember for sure which car it was. But anyway, so I was 12. And then, so by the time I was 15, I never did do it yet, even at that time, but I actually felt like I could totally just take off with a vehicle. But anyway, so
That's where boosting cars started. Just kidding.
ironically enough, I didn't actually get my license until 18 because I didn't do driver's ed. I just, one, I didn't have the need, and it just felt like a waste of time, like brain space, when I'm not going to be having a vehicle to drive around anyway and all that. But also, it was such a different time.
True. And I'll jump in there. So I will say the only reason, well, I would say two parts, but the primary reason was that my dad was going to benefit from me having a license. So I'll cover the secondary reason. I paid for it, so that's one thing. They're like, okay, you're gonna pay for it, go for it. But the primary reason, was because my dad did a lot of work at home, a lot of side jobs. He welded, he did a lot of electrical work, primarily welding, a lot of manual stuff. And if he had to stop because he ran out of material or gas for his welders, I mean, that was an hour to 2 hour downtime that he couldn't really afford. I mean, he only had 3 or 4 hours after he got home before it got real dark enough so that he still needed to rest and get ready for the next day. So on those situations, or even on weekends, right? Like if you don't want to work from 6 to 6 on a Saturday, he just wants to go a couple hours, adding 2 more hours to a weekend traffic time, that kills a lot of your time. So for him was perfect. I can send my son to go run this errand, drive over, pick up the parts or whatever I need, come back, and he can still be working on something else. So it was never a wasted moment when doing those side jobs. It just benefited me because then I started doing, I started taking trips to the mall with friends. I used to drive to school whenever they let me, and that just kind of got more confident. Side note, I think I covered it on another video. I joined the military at 17, so going to the base at 17, I was still in high school. Having a driver's license to drive myself to the base was another plus, because obviously they were going to support that, but they didn't want to have to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go drive me to my drills and then wait, till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It would kind of kill their weekends too if they had to kind of wait for that. So selfishly, they let me get my license.
Well, and the thing is too, like, I'm just kind of putting it together right now. So all of my friends that did do the whole driving, what's it called, driver's ed, and going for the permit and all that, is because I had a lot of my friends actually that did do at, I think it was still, even back then, 15 and a half. You had to be at least 15 and a half to start, and that's still what it is now. Like they put in all that work to go through driver's ed just so that they could get that permit. But then later on, fast forward like senior year, so many of them were driving. But right now I'm connecting it to, they were all firstborn too. Like there's a piece to consider with all that, at least for back in our time. Right now, I just like, I remember being not being able, like the conversation or like the buzz around like cars and driving started pretty early, like around 6th grade. Mm-hmm. You started thinking about, what car do I want to drive, or saving for a car, this and that. And I don't really see that now. And I work with teenagers. Like,
but it goes back to that point of
that different time.
That different times, people now use electric scooters, electric bikes.
Yeah.
It's like a trend to not really drive.
And then door dashing everything.
So the biggest thing about, especially in our area, because I'm sure if we talk to friends and family in Mexico or in Texas, places where things are further out, they might say like, oh no, people want to drive, they can't wait to get the license. But here, especially in California, things are getting more congested. There's plazas everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially me, like my wife and I make fun of people never want to leave a certain area. There's people that I have just recently discovered that I have a peer at work that has never left her 20-mile radius in the 20 years she's been, living where she's at. And it's because they have plazas left and right, so they can get their groceries, they can shop for cars, they can, like I said, grab whatever they desire. They need clothes. You would not go order stuff online. So really, what's the need to go farther out than your immediate area? And I think that's the key difference.
Yeah.
But for us, so kind of leading back to our son, he's kind of up for it, whatever. I've tried getting him behind the wheel. I already practiced with him starting. We do have a newer vehicle that's a push start, but then also have my truck that's older, that's an ignition switch, the key. So he's learned to do both. He's understanding how the function of each works, how not to hold certain buttons or what not to do, when to press the brake and not press the brake. So he's understanding those differences. And then the next step is going to be like real life testing, which everybody that I've taught, depending on the level that they're at, it's either in the parking lot, around the block, or go to the park in an empty space. And that's how we kind of start training. But for him, again, because there's not that want or that interest, I don't know how difficult it's going to be. What do you think?
Well, but see, that's a huge point, because when the things you don't think about until you're there, so as you're saying that, I think what probably sparked my interest to feeling like, oh, let me do this, because it wasn't like it was like a game, like, hey, Dad, let me drive it. And it, like I said, it was just really to move the car. And I remember it started with literally just, he would position it for me and I just scooted it. That was it. So it's not like he was teaching me to drive. And going from 12 all the way up until I didn't actually get on a street to actually drive a vehicle until like 17, I want to say. So I think the part of how you approach it as a parent or the person teaching someone is a big factor on how their interest, hopefully, because it's also a whole very different generation, will develop. And so for me, I remember him having those conversations, even just like in a drive, like right now. To this day, I can tell when a vehicle, I don't have to know the speed to be able to feel what the vehicle is doing. And it's because those are the things he actually taught me first, not even with the aim of teaching me how to drive or how a vehicle works. It was just conversation. So then now with our son, and then you teaching him the components of the vehicle and what the functions are, it even really speaks to what kind of a driver you may have, because I don't have to wait for my car to stall to know that something's happening, because I know what sounds different, what feels different. And
who taught you that?
Well, hold on, I'm getting there. Well, it started with my dad, because he would tell me listen real close, and he wouldn't tell me when it was going to happen. But he was did you hear it? And I'll be like, huh? No, would I hear what? And then, so he kind of started like that, just kind of feeding little grains of you have to be able to hear something. And then eventually understood, oh, there's a gear shift. I could feel and I could hear that this minuscule little event that would happen. I didn't actually understand the mechanics of it until somebody.
I know.
And now I can actually visualize what that sound is doing mechanically, because you described it to me.
Yeah. But
mainly when you were teaching me about specifically shifting, even before teaching me about manual transmission shifting, even just with an automatic, just teaching me the functions of like how you could even shift in those low gears with automatic. So anyway, so like even before getting into you need to, there comes a point where you're going to need to teach a child how to drive for the sake of knowing how to drive and be able to get a license. Even before that, really, it should be as delicate as, there are families that consider teaching gun safety, right? Or even just somebody that does like karate. You have to understand the power of what it is that you're teaching somebody. I think that needs to exist with driving too, because the value will it won't sway with what. It's not just about, do I operate the vehicle? It's the fact that the vehicle is a whole machinery.
Yeah.
So,
and I think for our son, what my concern is, I don't know if he has that interest or that drive to push that. So I'm more concerned with the understanding, or how should I put it, the speed understanding. What's the word I'm looking for? Visualizing, understand the rate of speed for certain vehicles. I think nowadays we notice more and more drivers that aren't really sure how to drive or gauge. There we go, gauge. Oh my gosh. So gauge vehicle speeds, understand how a car feels like at 50 miles an hour, at 40, at 80, and also visualize the oncoming car. Okay, that car is coming 50, 60 miles an hour. I'm not going to make this turn until they pass. Or see a car in the distance and say, okay, they're going pretty slow. I have time to turn right here without them potentially hitting me. And so obviously the mechanical functions of just turning, parking, and all those basic things, that will come. He plays video games. I think that'll come natural to him. But the real world part of also understanding other vehicles is my biggest concern. Is, are they going to understand the social aspect, the actual rules of driving, but also like the right of way and when people should go first and who does this and who does that. Even though a lot of it is taught, you should know by books or by life. There's a lot of people that don't know those, and we get frustrated.
Four-way stopping now, but everybody's stuck. Nobody knows who to go first. Like, there's a rule for that. Come on.
So I think there's a lot of that, and I wasn't thinking about it because I had just vented to my wife yesterday, and I was like, man, there are just so many issues, which I think I just passed the street. There's so many issues that we encounter, and she's like, you know what? Because they probably don't have licenses. Like they just had to, they chose, or they were put in a situation that they had to just figure out how to drive, and that's basically what they're doing. Is they're just driving to the best of their ability because they never went to train. They never went to driver's ed, and nobody actually taught them the rules of the road. And that's what makes them feel like a safe driver is more importantly than the physical movement of a car. Because I think a lot of times good drivers or fast drivers are the ones that will figure things out. Just like when you're just going somewhere and somebody doesn't open the door for you, well, you know to go open the door and you'll be fine. But if somebody doesn't hold the door for you, but then they actually lock it, knowing that you're coming, that creates an obstacle. It's like the same thing for the road. Is as long as you're not creating an issue for another driver, you should be fine. Somebody can drive around you. Like we might get frustrated when there's a slow driver or somebody doesn't know how to drive. At least in the right lane, and we just move out of the way and go around them. It's the issues when people are on the left lane, they're going slow and holding everybody up. That becomes the issue. But so that's kind of my biggest concern is how we're gonna deal with that or get into that. I mean, she made a good point, teaching and driving or listening while driving. A key factor in that, and I just realized that's a good opportunity for me to go over with him, is that he sits in the front now. So he drives, he's in the front passenger. And I think that's a perfect time now for us to communicate those kind of things to him. especially just even the short drives from school to the house, he'll understand. And the more we drive that into him, it'll just become second nature. He still has a good 2 years before he really has to do that. So 2 years worth of repetitive information should be a good starting point. But with all that being said, we're gonna come to a close. We got a short drive today. I hope that was a good piece of information to think about for you and your loved ones. What are your obstacles, and what do you guys think? What do you guys think that is going to be the biggest challenge with your loved one? Do you want to estimate?
I had it. Well, I did. It was. Oh yeah. Well, because maybe the desire isn't there the same with kids now, but you can't wait for that to happen, because at the end of the day, you're putting a whole child still on full machinery. People forget a car, be it however little, it's full on machinery. And it's like, what's an estimate weight of just
3,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're driving, that momentum doubles or triples the weight just based on the speed or how much speed you have. So,
and I feel like I think that gets lost a lot. I mean, I know parents, especially if you care enough to be concerned about, how am I gonna, whatever, in relation to my child and a moving vehicle, then you care enough to understand obviously you're concerned because of safety. And that's my baby, and what could happen, right? It's already like all of that kind of comes with it. But I think that it does get lost that this is a whole piece of machinery. Just because it's automatic transmission and all you got to do is get it rolling and go and stop and follow the rules isn't really it.
True. And you know why it doesn't bother me so much the same way is because our kids aren't growing up in the era that we grew up in. They have cars that warn them when another vehicle's to the left or right behind them. They slow down, they're automatic slowing down.
That's so true.
They have functions to stop. We have Teslas and electric vehicles, so that's not my concern. We started practicing with cars that barely had a full seatbelt.
Yeah.
We had carburetors, we had manual locks and handles, and crappy transmissions. I'm sure in the 90s those seem like groundbreaking, but you look at, I learned how to drive in a 89 Ford Bronco. I mean, huge, bulky, manual drive truck. We had an automatic
steering.
Yeah, we had an automatic van, but that was like an 85 Ford F350. Like, I had bulky, tough vehicles to drive with, so that's not my concern. My concern is going to be that he's safe and he understands how to gauge other drivers, because I think the manual part of it should come into like a natural feel because of the gaming that he does, so he knows how to move around. He understands to visually see stuff, but is to follow the rules and how that's going to apply to him when he's out and about.
Yeah, true.
All right, guys, thank you very much. That comes to end. Thank you to my lovely guests today.
You're welcome.
We both sound a little raspy, and we've been coughing, and I'm trying not to get sick. My wife and kids, just are getting over being sick. So, again, thank you guys very much. Appreciate the follow, the like, the share. Let us know what you guys think. Maybe we can have our guests come back to the next episode. Thank you very much.